church. It's an old church. It's well worth a little trip to see it.
So those...
And as we went along, well, he's telling me in his letters about, I'm talking about Hans Jürgen now. Hans Jürgen also had a mother who survived the war. His father died during the war. How, I don't know. But his mother was forced to keep Russian officers in her home. And she told me that they threw out all of his books, his library. This man, the younger brother of my grandfather, was a language teacher of English and German, and was a teacher trainer. And I might insert that I served as a teacher trainer in German when I was teaching German for several people who were doing their student teaching under me.
It's a strong line of teaching in your family.
Yeah. And I never knew why I wanted to be a teacher. I just did. And we used to, my cousins and I would be together, not always, of course, but quite often we were playing school. And I was making up sentences for them to diagram or arithmetic problems for them to solve. And we just fell into that, it seemed like. Well, it was kind of interesting, I thought, to find that his grandfather's brother was not only a teacher and a teacher trainer, but a principal of a school. And so it was a big thrill to me when I was there for the second time. I went in 1882, which was exactly 100 years to the month. That she had come over with her 3 brothers.
In 1882, they immigrated. In 1982, you went. Is that what you're saying?
In 1982, I went with the Robinson, with Mrs. Robinson and her son. I went on their invitation. See, I had been teaching German at New Braunfels High School since 61. Well, Bob had taught himself German. He was interested, but he never was in a classroom like I had. And I did have a good teacher in Austin for 4 years of high school. Plus I had already learned to read and write German in the summer of my elementary school year. I'm not sure whether it was 1 or 2 years or even 3, but I just laughed it up.
And one more time, you went to Germany 4 different times?
Actually 5, but the 5th trip was a tour through England, Netherlands, 3 nights in Germany, Switzerland, France.
What year was this?
And back through. I have to research that. I'm not certain.
That's okay. Your first trip was in the 60s, right?
64, yes.
Okay.
That was. I had two study sessions. 8 weeks in Boulder, Colorado in 62. And in '64, 2 years later, I was in Germany for 9 weeks. Now, we didn't stay in one spot in Germany. We had 5 days tents in Berlin. It was nice that I had the relatives, the Wildes were there in Berlin, and were the first people I saw standing there waiting for a passenger. And we flew into Tempelhof Airport. Well, this little book, as I indicated, this was a talented family, and I was enjoying correspondence with Hans-Jürgen, and his mother wrote me too, and his sister. Handwritings were different than what we learned in elementary school when we learned the old-fashioned script. My father learned that as well when he was a boy, and I still have his book, a copybook for copying the, since it's an up and down, it's not exactly easy to read, but it depends a lot on how true the writer is to the copybook, you know. But at any rate, another thing that I noticed in all the contacts I've had with native Germans in these years since I was teaching German particularly, they seem to have a whole lot more, what I would call of the fine arts in their education. It may not be true every family, I don't know that, but they loved theater, poetry. My long-term correspondent, I started writing to her in high school. When I was in high school, she was in high school.
This is Ottilie?
No, her name is Margaretha.
Margaretha.
Margaretha wanted me to write in her guest book when I was there. When I went to her home the first time was in '64, because we happened to go for 5 days to Berlin, to Cologne, which is where she had moved to after the war, because they were away from home, had gone to wherever her brother was stationed to see him with only bare minimum things with them, and were caught away from home, never had a chance to go back because of the war. And so she had moved to Cologne by that time, and her parents were visiting. They were living in Hanover, I think, and she and her husband were living in downtown Cologne, close to the world-famous cathedral.
What did Margaretha do as an adult?
She worked in business. It was in office work. Now those people went to a special school for that. They did not go to a university. But everybody gets placed where they seem to belong. We could learn something from them, I think. I don't know if we'd swallow it or not. You know.
You visited a second time in the 70s, or was it still in the 60s?
It was '79 when I visited her for